Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as Ruben Amorim moves on Sesko and Lammens. We've also got the update on Victor Gyokeres. There's something on Garnacho as well. And also Man United are looking for a midfielder apparently. So lots and lots for us to get into. It's Sunday night as well. It's an 8 o'clock show. It gets driven by you anyway. So throw your questions in as always. A big bit of news in our after show. If you know, you know. It's something different after. And also we're only 100 subscribers away from 123,000. So please do subscribe. Get involved with the biggest and best Manchester United community in the world. Lots to talk about. Few people talk about Shampers. Few people talking about Marcus Rashford. All I'm going to say about that is, if you know what happened with the Rashford story this afternoon, a tweet was put out and it was deactivated or deleted very quickly, but not quick enough for people not to be talking about it. I'm not going to get into it because all I know is what I was told very shortly after that from our source at Manchester United, and they said it's not true. So, and not only did they say that, they said it's not true, and effectively, it could be a legal issue if you start saying it is. So, I'm out. I don't mind the debate. I don't mind anything, but I'm just going to say, from what I know, it's not true, and I'm not getting involved in it. So, there we go. And I wish him all the best at Barcelona. I genuinely do, as I've said before. Yeah, because that's best for everybody. Right, let's get into the show. I'll tell you what's not true as well. We had a very big show on a Sunday lunchtime. A very, very big show. It was a proper Sunday lunch, which is always nice on a Sunday. The Gyokeres story. Surprise, surprise. She's risen from dead. Actually, she's not from Leeds. Surprise, surprise. I can't even do Cilla Black. Oh, I like Chuck. Oh, I like Chuck. What's on the story? I can't do it. I can't do Cilla Black. Well, no one can. She's dead. But Cilla Black used to have a show on a Sunday night called Surprise, Surprise. And surprise, surprise, it's not true about Gyokeres and Manchester United. So this story came out from Portugal from multiple outlets on the lunchtime show that Man United were close to a deal with Sporting, but Gyokeres still wanted Arsenal. Fabrizio has, in his video, said he's not heard anything about it. Ben Jacobs has said that as well. And then Simon Stone this afternoon said it feels like Manchester United are being used to try and get Arsenal to pay up. And a lot of us predicted that. But I'm not going to apologise for having hope. And I'm not going to apologise and say that if we did try and we failed, fair play. We'll never know. Maybe we did try, and maybe they rejected it. I don't know. But the 5 strands of transfer, literally, NK, you're spot on. The 5 strands of a transfer were being used by the club. And I think that's what was happening there. So Gyokeres doesn't look like there was anything in that at all. I mean, look, Gyokeres is not training with Sporting and he's lying on a beach in Mallorca on the 20th of July. I'm not slagging the lad off. I think he's going to do very well for Arsenal. But what's that all about? It's the 20th of July and you're lying on a beach in Mallorca not doing pre-season. If I was Arsenal, I'd say get off your arse and go back to Sporting and train. I'm very happy that Mbeumo has been training with Brentford for the last week. So there we go. We move on from that one. What I do want to talk about, though, because a lot of you are asking questions and I want to get into all that. Let's just go through the latest news. So Fabrizio Romano this afternoon saying that a striker and a goalkeeper position are the crucial next parts to Manchester United's transfer window. I'm really encouraged by this. I know we were talking about Barada this morning and how, he's probably had his hands tied a bit, but these next few weeks are really, really key. And how many times have we heard United take weeks and weeks to do a deal, Mbeumo, and then you don't really hear anything. And it's just us saying we need to do this, we need to do that. Instantly after that deal, we heard we needed a striker. Now, a couple of days after, we're hearing that Man United want a striker and a goalkeeper. And further to that, Fabrizio Romano said Man United have made initial contact to be informed on the deal conditions for Lammens, who is one of the main names on United's goalkeeper list. Martinez is also an option, but more expensive. So I'm encouraged by that, because we've spoken about Lammens before. We've obviously made contact. He will come into this football club as a slightly younger goalkeeper with some experience and the potential to be the next Courtois. Which that's probably a little bit harsh. That's a little bit over the top, because he's the best goalkeeper in the world. But he has got the potential to be a very, very good goalkeeper. So I'm really encouraged by that, because I think it's the type of goalkeeper that we could force an honour out and build up like we did De Gea. So look, a goalkeeper of that quality would be very, very welcome as far as I'm concerned. Just the direct quotes from Romano on the Gyokeres story, by the way. Many outlets in Portugal reporting that Man United were working and have been working in the recent days on a Gyokeres deal. Hugo Ekitike, people at Eintracht Frankfurt expected Man United to enter the race for Ekitike when the deal collapsed with Newcastle. Man United were asking to be informed on the situation, but then never did anything. I'm not aware of an official bid from Manchester United. I'm not aware of club talks from Man United. I'm aware intermediaries trying to suggest that possibility via Sporting. So it sounds like Sporting pushing it to try and get Arsenal to push it. So interesting about Lammens. Hopefully something can develop around that. But then Ben Jacobs this afternoon on a striker situation. Sesko is back on Manchester United's radar as a number 9 option. Approach made 12 months ago before Sesko decided to stay at Leipzig. Jackson and Watkins are 2 other names discussed. Still shortlisting several targets. Finding a new striker is the next priority. I mean, it's a positive, but it's also a concern. You can't put Nicholas Jackson on a list with Sesko and Watkins. It's going to cause absolute scenes in the United fan base. I mean, I saw Terry replying to something on Twitter today with the green face throwing up. Even he, Mr. Positive, is against Nicholas Jackson signing for Manchester United. So we've got to stay away from it, as Rakib says. Having Sesko, Watkins and Nicholas Jackson as options is a bit like being at a house party and somebody saying, I've got an Oasis album. Yeah, I've got Oasis. I've got a Beatles album, and I've got the best of Jedward. And J is for Jedward and J is for Jackson. Utter shite. Yeah? At least Watkins and Sesko, you can argue about who's the Oasis and who's the Beatles. But yeah, we ain't putting Jedward on, and I don't want Jackson. So, no, United need to figure this out very quickly. If you're shortlisting strikers and you're putting Ollie Watkins, Nicholas Jackson and Benjamin Sesko into the same pool, you need a shit pool. It's like a tier list. Those 2 are in a different tier to him. Don't go anywhere near it. So no, I don't want to go anywhere near that. But look, Ben Jacobs talking there about Sesko, which is always going to be a positive. Fabrizio also saying that Chelsea are showing an appreciation for Garnacho. Look, we've always been quite well briefed on the Garnacho side of things. Not on team news. Before you get in there, it wasn't Garnacho, so I'm not going to say anything. But we knew it was 100% leaving the morning after. We got told that. And Napoli was always the place we were being told. I think he'll be wearing blue next season. Fabrizio says Chelsea is still there. I feel if we go Chelsea, Jackson becomes a possibility the other way. So I don't care if Garnacho goes to Chelsea. I just don't want Jackson in return. Napoli apparently is still an option. And whilst Chelsea have bought Estevao and Gittins, they are still looking for another attacking midfielder, which is why they're looking at Simmons and Rodrigo and other people as well. So, yes, Garnacho could still end up at Chelsea. Interesting story also coming in. I'm just whizzing through all the latest news because 8 o'clock's not really a news show and I want to get into your comments. iPaper are talking that Atletico Madrid are emerging as favourites to sign Antony. That's fine by me. That's absolutely fine by me. Haven't got a problem with that at all. Obviously, he did very well at Betis. I mean, I didn't even realise how well he'd done at Betis. 26 games, 8 goals and 5 assists. So he has... It's been a weird summer for Antony because he really did have a huge glow-up from January to the end of the season. He did really, really well. And there was links to Atletico Madrid, Juventus and other clubs. And it seems like, this can happen in life. Like, you go back to music again. You release 2 or 3 good songs and they go in at #1 and everyone's talking about you. And then your album comes out and it does really, really well. And you're like, yeah, I'm just going to take a break. I'm just going to pop and have a holiday before I release anything else. And then you pop on holiday and then the awards show comes out and you're not even nominated. And you're like, hold on a minute. I had a bloody good album. I had a few good songs. I've been forgotten. And I feel like Antony, in a very busy transfer window, has been completely and utterly forgotten, even though he had a bloody good end to the season. So I hope Atletico Madrid have entered the race, because it's surprising to me, as much as I don't mind him going to Betis, it's effectively going to be another loan like Rashford. So if somebody else did come in and go, we'll pay the money, that would be good. So hopefully there is something in that. Just on Rashford, by the way, Fabrizio says that the option to buy for Rashford in June 2026 will be £26 million. It's coming down all the bloody time. 30 million euros then, basically. So £26 million is what Barcelona can have Rashford for next June. But, I saw what Paul Pogba said about Rashford and said, I'm pleased for him because they took his shirt off him and Amorim can do what they want. They're losing a great player. Unlucky for them and the coach. Look, I ain't got a problem with Paul Pogba, but like most footballers, if I wanted their opinion on something, I'd ask. Just because they're talented footballers doesn't mean that they're proper Man United fans. I'd rather speak to you lot. We all know why Rashford's got to go. Rashford himself knows why he's got to go. Paul Pogba sat there trying to grow his Instagram or whatever it is with speed, talking about Man United issues. He can do one. He's got no. He's entitled to his opinion, but he clearly doesn't take any notice of Man United because, I'm sorry, Paul, Marcus Rashford did an interview at Christmas saying he wanted a new challenge. So why is it our fault? They've both contributed to it. He's the one who wasn't turning up for training and working hard in January. He's the one who said he wanted a new challenge. He's the one who said he wanted to go to Barcelona. So why is everyone going, Man United have made a mistake? Man United made a mistake. He wants to go. He wants to go. Takes 2 to tango. So I think that 26 million, let's just hope he has a really good season. Let's hope he has a really good season and gets his move to Barcelona, gets the World Cup. I'm very confident. I did an Instagram. If you check out Goldbridge Hot Takes on Instagram, I'll drop the link actually if I can. I don't know how to do it. If someone drops the link in, I'll pin it. Check it out on there. I'm absolutely convinced he'll have a good season and I think we'll be in a good position. So, yeah, there we are. So that's all the latest news at the moment. I'm going to go through some of your comments, as we do on a Sunday night. But, yeah, I suppose, well, we'll probably talk about it more on the morning show tomorrow, won't we? But what's the week ahead for Manchester United? On Mbeumo, could have been official today. Deal has been done. It's signed. He's done his medical. Everything's done. It's just media duties now. We're in the hands of official announcement, really. They could have done it today. I think it makes sense to break the internet tomorrow on a Monday, on a working day. I think you get, anybody who works in this industry knows you get a lot more interaction on a weekday than you do on a Sunday. So Manchester United realistically should be... they will announce it tomorrow because on Tuesday we're flying out to the States. Next Saturday night we play West Ham. Will we do any transfers this week? Again, it's more for tomorrow, but I would just say this. Our record of doing transfers on the tour, I did a tweet last year. I can't remember, it feels like 5 minutes ago. We don't tend to do a lot of business on tour, traditionally. But hopefully that can change. The problem you've got, it's not really a Man United thing. This is not really something that you can scream and shout at Barada and Wilcox for, because the problem that you have is that whilst Man United are on tour, so is everybody else. I mean, I don't know where RB Leipzig are in relation to Sesko, but he will be pre-season somewhere. I don't know where Lammens is, but he will be on pre-season somewhere. So it's harder to do those. Richard Rios has joined Benfica. Yes, Reagan. I mean, I suppose the only thing I would say about Richard Rios is maybe if no Premier League club fancied him, maybe that's what it's all about. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, I don't know whether we're going to sign anyone while we're on the tour, which means that if we do sign somebody, look, we're probably going to play Arsenal without our striker, and they're probably going to play us with Gyokeres, aren't they? That, to me, would be something that would be in my head now. If I was Amorim and Wilcox, I'd be saying, look, Arsenal is our first game of the season. They're probably going to have Gyokeres play. We're probably not going to have our striker playing, and that's about preparation, isn't it? Having said that, we might be able to move Garnacho on. We might be able to move Sancho on, and we might be able to move Antony on because they're not on tour. So we might be able to do that. Let's get into some of your comments anyway. I'm sure some of it will be covering some of the stuff we've discussed already. Storm in Tosh says, why aren't we keeping midfielder our priority? I would prefer a midfielder over a striker. If midfield doesn't work, then attack won't be that effective. There was actually a story today I saw. I wonder if I can find it for you about a midfielder. It wasn't from like Fabrizio or anybody like that. I think it was in the Mirror. I might be able to find it for you. If you just bear with me for a minute. Yeah, it was actually. I've got it here. So came in this afternoon, Disco Mirror, David McDonnell, basically saying that Ruben Amorim is desperate to recruit at least 2 more signings, a striker and a midfielder. So look, Fabrizio saying it's a goalkeeper and a striker. The Mirror are saying it's a striker and a midfielder. I got to be honest, on the midfield situation, I don't really see the point. I don't see the point. I do see the point. I do, but I don't. And that doesn't make any sense, but it does. I would buy a midfielder. You would buy a midfielder. But from Amorim's point of view, I don't know why he's buying a midfielder. You're going to play Bruno in the midfield every bloody game of every minute all season, and we're not in Europe. So maximum, Bruno's probably going to play about 40-something games. That's not that many. He's normally used to playing 50 to 60. We're not in Europe, so the maximum amount of games you can play is 38 in the Premier League. All right, you've got Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, but if you get knocked out quickly, you might only play about 43 games. So it would do well. It's not going to be as congested. So Bruno never gets injured. He's always fit. Bruno's going to, and he's the captain. So why buy a midfielder when the other position in the midfield, you've got Casemiro, Ugarte, Mainu, and Collier? If you buy a midfielder, what are you going to do? Pick him and Bruno and then not pick Mainu, Casemiro, Ugarte? I don't think we can buy a midfielder. Even though we do need one, I don't think we can buy one because I don't think we can justify where they'd go without selling somebody. Binge says, you trigger me every time you mention it, says Binge. Mark, a swap isn't a swap. It is an I'll give you X for this player if you give me X for this player. A Garnacho swap isn't a swap. You've lost me, mate. You've lost me. I think what you're saying is if Villa said, give us 60 and we'll give you 40 for Garnacho, you're saying it's not a swap. You might want to read upon the rules because technically UEFA can see that as a swap deal. Speak to Swedish Ramble about it. I wouldn't expect us to complete incomings while on tour, but certainly some progress towards them and progress towards outgoings. I think this is a great point by Emily because actually, if we're being fair, the tour's going to take just over 2 weeks. When do we ever do a deal in 2 weeks? So even if we start concrete talks with Lammens or Sesko, it ain't going to happen in 2 weeks anyway, is it? I would say if, and it's a big if, we move for Sesko, Leipzig will be very difficult to deal with. I could see that happening at the back end of August anyway. So, yeah, signing players on tour, you're absolutely spot on. We should probably lower those expectations. But I'd like to see some players leaving. Why aren't we done that from Storm? The Green Team, thanks for your super chat. He says, hi Mark, watching United Stand inspired us to start a YouTube channel at 60 years of age. Any chance of a shout out for the Green Team? 2 old people living life in pubs. One life, live it. I'm going to watch the Green Team after this. That's how you promote something. You do something good. You get noticed in something like this. And I tell you what, you've intrigued me. I'm interested. I'm actually going to watch it after this. Expectations, Sesko. Reality, Nicholas Jackson, says Ryan. Guerra Valencia, who we are linked to, says Christian. I think a lot of people like Guerra, but I don't think we are in for him. I really want a striker, Mark, but no, we have Mbeumo and Cunha. If we get a world-class centre midfielder and no striker, how do you think that will go? Says Jamie. look, I'm bored of talking about the midfield. I'd almost say to myself, shut up talking about the midfield, Goldbridge. And I'd go, I respect that. They don't need to tell me to shut up, but I do respect that. Let's see who's right. I think with the midfield, I'm at the point now where let's see who's right. Is Amorim right putting Bruno in the midfield with Casemiro? Or are we right saying that's going to be a problem in the Premier League? Let's see. I hope Amorim's right. I fear he's not. I really want a striker, says Jamie. But Mark, now we have him. I've done that one. Do you know, Nick says, did you know Sancho is common slang term in Spanish-speaking world for the other man in the relationship, as in spouse or girlfriend who is being unfaithful with a Sancho? Can our community please confirm? That sounds totally made up, Nick. Rashford is the luckiest player ever to go to Barcelona, says Brendan. Let's not be bitter. Let's not be bitter. Like, I can always, I can deal with liars and I can deal with, you know, haters and out of context merchants and everything like that. Anybody who's watched the United stand knows the night he went out on the piss in Belfast, I nearly ended the channel. You know, I nearly lost the community because I argued with everybody and they were telling me he was out. And I was like, no way, no way, no way. And it got really bad. I had to apologise. So for all these people out there that say you're a Rashford hater, actually, there's loads and loads of evidence that I'm not. And I actually really liked him as a player. I don't like the way he's behaved off the pitch, and I don't like the people around him, and I think he became a brand. And I think Manchester United fed that brand and created a situation that ended like this. No player of his age and his background in relation to coming through with the talent and the upbringing at Man United, it never should have ended like this. It's a disgrace that it's ended like this. Man United have played a part, and so has Rashford. And I think that when you say that people hate him or anything like that, he was idolised. Seb and a lot of kids still idolise him. So he is as much to blame as anybody else as to why this is. And I don't know whether there's an arrogance there or whatever, or they think they're better than everybody else, or just immense self-belief. But they have caused a lot of the problems, doing silly interviews and stuff like that. However, I don't want him to fail at Barcelona, and it's never, ever, ever been about wanting him to fail. Not from my part, and I don't think it is for anybody else. I want him to do well at Barcelona. I've seen some United fans really losing it because, I mean, Teddy Sheringham sort of said it. He shouldn't be going to Barcelona. He doesn't deserve to go to Barcelona the way he's treated Man United. I don't care. I really don't care. Maybe it's through experience. I know people that I've worked with who have behaved like prats, you know, basically down tools, and then they go and work somewhere else. They work really hard. They take your ideas, and people go, that's really bad, whatever, like that. And I go, whatever. I know what they are. They know what they are. Let them crack on. And in the case of Rashford, and wish them all the best. There's no point hating. Don't hold on to hate or envy or jealousy. There's no point. Only you hold on to it. And I think with Rashford, it's regretful how it's ended at Manchester United. It is. I said at some point in the last 3 years, when he was last in a good bit of form, I actually said I can see him winning the Ballon d'Or, and people laughed. And they're probably right. But I did think there was a talent there. I don't know whether he'll ever be able to get back to that. I mean, it's tough with the players they've got at Barcelona, but what an opportunity. And look at what Antony did at Betis. What was it? 26 games, 8 goals, 5 assists. Rashford's playing for bloody Barcelona. If you give him chances, he will score. So I hope he does well. I hope the new challenge tames him and changes him. And I hope the brand and everything like that just quietens down and lets him focus on football, and he focuses on that and grows up a little bit. Because I hope he does well. It's better for everybody, and we still need a fee at the end of this. So I hope it works out really well. And I don't hold any malice, regret, or jealousy or anything like that. He's gone to Barcelona. He's probably a little bit lucky, to be honest, based on the last 18 months. But then again, I've always said, if I was a chairman of a Premier League club, I'd have done what Villa did. I think Villa did the right thing. I'd have done what Villa did. I think, you know, if you can get that player, it's a good thing. I understand the frustrations that people have as to how it's gone. It never should have happened, but, you know, that's for another day, isn't it, really, why it happened. Are you telling me we will have Jackson, says Rob? I hope not. Carla Derbyshire says, happy 3 months. Oh, 3 months a member. Thank you, Carla. If we sign Jackson, we're done. Please, Glinios, don't do it. Boy Wonder says, we're losing 2 defenders. Should we be looking for 1? What 2 defenders are we losing? Lindelof and Johnny Evans. Yeah, but you've got... No, I think we're good at back. I do. I think we're good at the back. We've got plenty of numbers at the back. If we're shortlisting now... It's not a high priority is what I would say, boy. If we are shortlisting now, how long will it take? And Burmo took a whole lifetime. This is a great point, Mike. And it's sort of... You're right. If what Ben Jacobs says is true, we're shortlisting strikers. Why are we shortlisting strikers on the 20th of July? Great point, Mike. Again, what are we doing? And that's Ben Jacobs saying that. Man United and Fabrizio Romano, Man United are currently in the process of shortlisting the striker that they're going to go for. What are we doing shortlisting our striker in the middle of, well, in late July? Trust you well, what would happen if Arsenal failed to pay the asking price for Gyokeres and we offered them 65? I think they will flinch, says Rizik. I think that's what Sporting are trying to put out there to force Arsenal to pay up, because they probably saw what happened on Thursday. I know something about what happened on Thursday. I just don't know whether I can say it. I don't want to... I'm not going to say it because the person who told me is a big fan of the channel. They're not a journalist. And yeah, I'm going to ask them tonight if I can mention it. I don't know whether they told me to mention it, but yeah, I know what happened on Thursday with Mburmo, and it's not what you think. It wasn't anything to do with the Newcastle Wizard bid at all, why we did it. But anyway, going back to what you were saying there, I don't know whether Manchester United are in a position where they would bid more than Arsenal to get Gyokeres. Maybe they have inquired. Maybe that's why the Portuguese press have mentioned it. Or maybe Sporting have made it up to try and prompt Arsenal to do it. All I would say is what I said at lunchtime. If I was Man United and there was a hint that Gyokeres might fancy Man United, I would offer 5 million quid more. Yeah. Why would you not try? You can't... You know, it's worth a punt, isn't it? If you're in a bar and you see your dream girl or boy, and they're being spoken to by somebody, and they look like they might be in a relationship, and that person goes to the toilet, leaving the dream at the bar, do you just go, it's not worth it, they're clearly in a relationship, or do you just go, you know what, I'm going to ask them if they want a drink? And you go up and you ask them for a drink, and they go, my boyfriend's just gone to the toilet, I'm absolutely fine, thank you, but no thank you. Well, at least you get your answer. Or you might go up and they'll go, oh, thank you, he's a right weirdo. Can you stay with me? Because I really think he's going to do something, you know. I've took it too far, but you know what I mean. You don't know. You don't know. And it's better off finding out. Happy about the striker and goalkeeper targets, but that midfield with Bruno is asking for trouble, says Rohan. I like Amorim, but that decision is worrying. Thank you very much for that as well, Rohan. Would you take Moises Keane over Jackson? I would, because it's the, yeah. I mean, I would because of I don't want Nicholas Jackson, and I don't know a lot about Moises Keane, so it instantly makes him more attractive. But I don't want either, really. I think with Watkins and Moani and Sesko being mentioned, I would be going for those 3 above that. Those 2 options, certainly. Michael says, Jess Carter, let's kick racism out. I actually do know what you're talking about, Michael, here. Now, as much as I don't really... I don't really watch women's football. I have been watching the women's football with England, and Jess Carter, I think she's a left-back, has received loads and loads of racial abuse, which is just completely and utterly beyond comprehension in 2025. Sadly, it still exists. Look, apparently she hasn't played that well, and she's acknowledged that herself. But the racism is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And this is racism, so we'll talk about it being racism. But, you know, whether it's any other ism, it's just, what's that got to do with it? What is, if she's not playing well at football, which she's acknowledged herself, why do people have to bring race into it? And it should be called out. Well done, Michael. Number 1 target should be a midfielder, says Hypochondriac. Club 1870. Look, I agree with you on that one. I'm not just going to dismiss it. But what I will say is I am quite excited until the bubble gets burst. I mean, this happens every year for the last decade. I'm excited at this moment in time because Mbeumo is done and there's talk of a striker and a goalkeeper, which I want. So right here, right now, we're on that roller coaster, aren't we? That we all know. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll probably be down in the bottom of the roller coaster again, moaning, because that's how it goes. And fair play to the people who can stay on an equilibrium and just stay balanced. But I don't do that, you know. Look, we're here for a good time, not a long time. We're here once, aren't we? So, you know, passion's important, I think, in the bedroom and in football. And number one target should be a midfielder. Okay, I get that, but I am excited that we are looking at a striker and a midfield and a goalkeeper. Cunha and Mbeumo, a new striker, is cool, but was anyone else seriously concerned about our midfield versus Leeds? Says Club 1878. Feels like a solid number 8 is essential. But that's Bruno's position, mate. Everyone knows we need a number 8. But I get the feeling he's going to buy a number 6. I'll say the story is true. They can't sue me, says Joe. I think you're talking about something from the start. Thank you, Joe. Drinking right now for a good show. Hope you're doing well, Mark. I don't think we'll sign Gyokeres. Seems like he wants Arsenal. 100%, Andre. Hope you're doing well. What do we need for top 6 next season, says TG. Look, when I lost myself in that, and I don't get up from the chair very often. It's either anger or excitement, or there's someone at the door. And I've got, anyway. But in those few moments at lunchtime where you allow yourself to believe in this exciting prospect of Manchester United getting Gyokeres, that instantly puts us in 5th place for me. And Osman's going to Galatasaray, isn't he? I find it very frustrating that this striker market was good and we weren't able to get on it. But if we'd got Osman or Gyokeres, I would have put us into 5th place. Because I think I actually think this Premier League season, and this is not luck, by the way. You could say it's luck, but it's not luck, it's cycles. The Premier League last year was incredible. From like 10th to 1st, I know we finished 15th because we were crap, but it was an intense top 10. I know Liverpool won the league by a lot and the top 4 was the top 4. But look who was it was a lot of interchangeability. Even Chelsea weren't always in the top 4. Forest were. Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham were good. It was really intense in the top 10 last year. And if last year was this year, I wouldn't put us in 5th. I wouldn't put us in 6th. But this year, I think a lot of teams are going to fall off. I think Forest will fall off a bit. I think Bournemouth will fall off, obviously. I think Villa will fall off a bit. I think Spurs are Spurs. Newcastle might struggle a little bit. So if you can sort yourself out, I think you can go from 15th to 5th. And that's why I think if we had a Gyokeres or an Osman, I'd put us there. It's still doable, but what do we need for top 6 is the ask from TGCBN. My feeling is for top 6, on top of Mbeumo and Cunha and Amorim getting this team to play good football in this system, I think you need a goalkeeper to save shots and put them out of danger. And you need a striker to put the ball in the back of the net consistently. We just need a 20 goal a season striker. And I do worry about the midfield. So those 3 things, yeah. Mario says, that tweet on Rashford makes sense when you think about it. Malacia being gone for mental issues and Brandon Williams reports on the blue and blown as well. Mario, on that, as I said at the start, from my source, not true. And dangerous to start talking about it because you could get sued. Benj says, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. But look, what I will say on it is, and I'll be completely fair, I saw it. The account that put it out there has been very accurate on injury news. That can't be disputed. And also, it's been put into a public forum. And like the couple at the Coldplay thing, which got me into trouble, by the way, and I'll tell you that on the after show, when somebody puts that out there, it's in the court of public opinion. Mason Greenwood never went to court. But his girlfriend at the time put the recording and the pictures out. And although it never went to court, people made opinions on it because it went into the court of public opinion. And sometimes that's really not very fair. But once it's there, it will be discussed. So it's not like people are trying to sweep it under the carpet. They know it's there now. But as I said, from what I've been told, it's not true. Benj, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Parker says, we cooking. Shampers, everyone. Shampers. Parker, thank you very much. Let me just refresh the live chat because it's gone and got stuck, which is annoying. Can I just say while I'm doing that, it's took me back to the subscriber number. We are on 122,991. So we are 9 subscribers away from 123,000. So please do subscribe. Get involved with the United Stand. 8 o'clock shows are banging at the moment, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. Even Terry on Friday when he did it, he had over 10,000 watching, which obviously isn't as good as me, but you know, everybody knows that. But I'm joking. I think Terry's very, very good. But the 8 o'clock shows are absolutely banging at the moment. And remember, we're live every morning at 10 o'clock, every afternoon at 2, and then the 8 o'clock shows, which I just love the 8 o'clock shows. And in fact, I do want to shout you out because I do it a lot, but I think it's really important to do it because I'm very, very proud of this community that you've built. We had our 10-year show in Dublin in March. Everywhere I go, you know, everyone says what an amazing community it is. They don't always say nice things about me, but they always say it's a great community. And, you know, it's Sunday. The 8 o'clock shows are brilliant because you drive them. And we don't really we'll whiz through the news. And there's always great conversation. But the United Stand did start off as one show a week at 8 o'clock, which is amazing to think. You had to wait all week for a United Stand show. There wasn't that many people waiting because we only had about 10 people watching because it was right at the very start, and it's amazing what it's become. I mean, it's a sit-down story in itself one day, hopefully. But it started as nothing. It had no backing. It was up against another United channel that was owned by a media company and basically told us to get in line and be respectful. And we sort of went, you know what? Your manufactured music can do one. We're Oasis. And look at us now. The community rules, says Kesh. So yeah, thank you. It's always nice on an 8 o'clock on a Sunday because it reminds me of our beginnings. Music Only says it's not really an 8 o'clock show though, is it? It's a 9 minutes past 8 show or a quarter past 8. Very good banter there. Can we block it? No, I'm joking. Josh says, can you say happy birthday to my dad, Andy? He's watching the show right now. That's from Josh Pedal. Happy birthday, Andy. Inquisition says, big love, Mark, and to all of you as well. Mark H says, I recently lost my brother to pancreatic cancer. He was only 53. Watching the United Stand helps me massively. Thank you for all you do. You know, in a way, I don't like that. I don't like cancer. Who does? Up yours, cancer. That's why we do the charity stream every year. I've lost friends to cancer. I've lost family members to cancer, and we're all going to get touched by it. But it's real life, isn't it? That's why I always say you only get one life, and we're here to live it. And you should always grab the positive moments because there's going to be negative moments like Mark's going through. And obviously thoughts with you and your friends and family, Mark. But we are a community and we share the good times and we share the bad times. So thank you for sharing that with us, Mark. My concern is striker, says Mike JW. New midfielder is imperative and new goalkeeper is important, but realistically, who would you want? I mean, I hope Sir Jim's not watching. He won't be. He'll be on the champers now. He'll be in bed. On a Sunday in Monaco, good weather, be bloody topless in swimming in the sea, won't he? But I don't know whether he drinks champagne, by the way. It is just literally a joke. My concern, I'm just thinking about legal, but the point is, actually, I've seen pictures of him drinking champagne, so that we're all right on that. Champers. Anyway, Mike says, you know what? If I was Jim Radcliffe, I'd love that. If I was Graham Souness, I'd always love that people say, I've played the game. And if I was Sir Jim Radcliffe, I'd love it if people went up to him and went, champers. Imagine it. I mean, if you are close to Sir Jim, go up to him and say, champers. I'd love that. I'd love someone coming up to me and going, champers, because it's like, that's what I'm known for. You might not like it. My concern is striker is necessary. So Mike's basically saying striker, midfielder. He might not be drinking the champers, by the way. He might just be ordering it because it's a posh person's drink. My concern is striker is necessary. So what Mike's basically saying is, would you pick a striker, a midfielder, or a goalkeeper? Well, this is why I wouldn't want Sir Jim to be watching, because it's not excusable just to get one. We need to get 3, all of them, certainly 2 out of 3. But if I had to pick 1 out of those 3, I don't know. I change my mind every day, because I think after the game yesterday, we definitely need a number 8. But where I am at the moment, I actually do think, look, it's one thing playing Leeds and West Ham and Bournemouth and Fiorentina and Everton. When you play Arsenal twice, Chelsea twice, Man City twice and Liverpool twice, I think we're going to see that we need a bloody goalkeeper. And I think in pre-season, we're not going to realise that. I mean, look at Leeds at the weekend. I know Heaton made some saves in the second half, but really, Bienda had nothing to do. I think there's a danger in pre-season we're not going to understand how important a goalkeeper is. So for me, whilst I wouldn't want to choose between a striker, a midfielder and a goalkeeper if I had to, I would just remind people that a goalkeeper is really important, because when we're playing at the Emirates or Anfield or at Old Trafford against these teams and it's tight and it's maybe 2-2 or 1-1 or you're losing 1-0 and then they get a big chance and then a good goalkeeper saves you and keeps you in the game, that's important. I think having a good goalkeeper, as we saw with David De Gea time and time again, the amount of times he'd keep us in a game. I remember a game specifically, I've mentioned it before, Crystal Palace a couple of years ago. I think we were on top at Selhurst Park. We were on top, but we hadn't scored. It was under Ten Hag. And then out of nowhere, De Gea had nothing to do in the first half. And out of nowhere, this Palace player hit this shot that was dipping in the top corner. And he'd not had any bloody save for ages, gets up and tips it over. And I thought, that's what we mean when we're talking about a goalkeeper. We're talking about a top-class saver who will keep you in a game. And we haven't got that. So I still do think, when I did the preview for the Leeds game and I was looking at the predicted lineup there, I still do think that I look at the goalkeeper and I go, that's really important. But a striker and a midfielder is important as well. Based on the game the other day, do you think Amorim could be tempted to play a 3-4-1-2 with Fernandes slotting behind Mbeumo and Cunha playing a false 9 if we struggle to find a striker? No, because he's changing his system, Joshua. Look, I haven't got a problem, Joshua, with anybody saying we should change the system, or will he change the system, or could he change the system. But I'm absolutely adamant on this because he's played the same system his whole career and he keeps saying he won't change it. So I think whether he should, would or could, he won't. It's just there's no point having the conversation. And that's what irritates me about people in the media doing it. Because you saying it, Joshua, as a United fan in a community like this is absolutely fine, because we might have a chat about we should have signed Richard Rios, even though we've never been in for him. But the media are there to supposedly provide professional analysis. And as part of professional analysis, you should do your bloody homework. He has said he is never going to change his formation. So when they talk about he should change his formation, they're just stirring trouble. That's what annoys me about them lot, is that they're just stirring trouble because they know he's not going to change his formation. So, yeah. Any update on Victor? Only in now, says Bounty Hunter. Is it Jonathan Victor, the goalkeeper at Botafogo? Not heard anything about him, but I think he is on the list. But I think if I had to choose between Victor and Lammens, I would go for Lammens because I think he's better and he's younger. And I'd much rather have a goalkeeper that we could have for 10 years. It's John Victor, yeah. Sir Jim, polished turds, drinks champers in Iceland, says BB. Sean O'Rourke says, has Gyokeres seen the Guard of Honour Arsenal gave Van Persie? I'd be thrilled if we signed Sesko. I'd also be thrilled if Margot Robbie turned it up, says Sean. Oh, I tell you what, last night, I started watching Wolf of Wall Street. I love it anyway, but I haven't watched it for a while. What a film. And then when I put it on, Mrs. Goldbridge got really angry because she said, I know why you've put this film on. And I said, I forgot she was in it. She said, you're always using her as an example on United Stand. I went, oh, you do watch then. Anyway, I said, look, we can turn it off if you want. But I'm actually here to watch the brilliant script and story. I'm not bothered about that. Thoughts on Yulmland from Sporting, says Jonas. I am not on the Yulmland story, even though it's been mentioned for 3 days, Jonas, because I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know where it's coming from. I absolutely agree with you that if Ruben Amorim could get Hjulmand, he would. And I absolutely find it disgusting that we haven't bought one player from Sporting. Like, I don't care if it's Trincao or Gonçalves or Inacio. That system is so distinctive, and he built that team. I find it amazing that we haven't brought one Sporting player in. I would have said maybe two. But I can't believe we haven't brought a Sporting player in. But we can't afford Hjulmand. I mean, they probably would want 70 million for him. And I don't even know if he's worth that. I don't know. But I've not heard anything concrete about him at all. I believe my chance to match with Paris Hilton on Tinder is higher than the chances that United will buy a goalkeeper, a centre midfielder and a striker in this window, says Ayus. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with regards to Sesko. But what I would say about Sesko is if we got him, factually, Arsenal were looking at him for 2 years. Chelsea were looking at him. Liverpool considered him. He ain't like Moani or Ramos at PSG. He has been scouted for a long time, and he's only just 22. So whatever you think about Sesko, I don't think you can sit there and say he's shit, because he has been looked at for a while by a lot of people. And I do wonder if the reason Arsenal didn't go for him really is twofold. One, I'd have gone for Gyokeres over Sesko because they need a striker now. They need the real deal now. They need the guy to come in and score goals. And I think Gyokeres might win the Golden Boot at Arsenal. Sesko at 22 might need to adjust. And he's more expensive. So if you're Arsenal, there's a striker ready to go, or there's a striker that's not ready to go who's more expensive. So I think that might have been part of the reason. But he's still a good player. I don't know whether we're going to go for Sesko. I think he might be too expensive for us. But he is a good player if we go for him. Secondly, RB Group. Fivel. Who's in charge? Who's working for the RB Group at the moment? Klopp. Is Klopp going to help Arsenal out? I don't know whether that's a theory or conspiracy. Sid says, Ineos gave Bruno a new contract. Do you think that's why they convinced Ruben he will work, plus the Portuguese connection, why they didn't sell him, avoiding another Ten Hag contract renewal and sacking saga? Can't get my head around this one. Ineos gave Bruno a new contract. Do you think that's why they convinced Ruben he will work, and the Portuguese connection, why they didn't sell him, avoiding another Eric Ten Hag contract renewal and sacking saga? I still don't get it, Sid. Are you saying that Ineos wanted Bruno and had to convince Ruben to keep him because of the Portuguese connection? I mean, look, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Man United said we're not selling Bruno, but I think it's very obvious that Amorim didn't want to sell Bruno as well. It's such a horrible situation. Look, we're not afraid to talk about anything on this channel, are we? As a community, we're not afraid. And I do think with Bruno, I do feel bad for Bruno because he's always been one of my favourite players. I really, really wanted us to buy him. And anyone who remembers those shows will know I was obsessed the summer we didn't get him. And I was ecstatic the January we did. I've always liked Bruno Fernandes. I never won't like Bruno Fernandes. He's got the right mentality. I think he's been a brilliant signing for us. But it would have been a lot easier if he'd said, I want to go to Saudi. And I think he was very close. I think he was really close to going to Saudi. I think two things really stopped it. One, I don't think his family wanted to go. And two, I think he felt that with the World Cup and everything, he still had something to offer in Europe. It was probably too soon for him. But I think he definitely got close to it because 2.5 weeks of thinking about it. And if United had said go, I think he would have gone. So I don't think that did us any. I don't think that did anybody any favours. I don't think it ever does anybody any favours. If that had been dismissed straight away, no one would have thought about it. But it was 2.5 weeks over the Europa League final where he didn't play well, and he's also playing out of position. So, and Bruno's always been a divider. I mean, Ricky's never rated him. Some of you've never rated him. So, I think that whole. I like Bruno, and I have been critical of him because when he plays badly, he should be criticised. And I don't think he's a midfielder, and I hope that gets proven wrong. But I don't think that whole Saudi saga actually helped it because it got to a point where even people who like Bruno, like me, were saying, I think we should do it. And then it didn't happen. So I don't think the saga did him any good. I don't think it did Amorim any good, and I don't think it did United any good, and I don't think it did us any good. I think it did Saudi a load of good because it showed their, ambition. But I don't think that whole situation is over. Not in the sense that he's going to go to Saudi, but I do think if we don't have a good season, that's going to be something that gets brought up again and again and again. And I said it at the time, whatever happens, that's going to have a lasting impact on us. And I don't think it's really Bruno's fault. Shinabs loves the 8 o'clock show. Me too, mate. Would you play Jedward up front if we were able to hypothetically sign Declan Rice or take Jackson with our current midfielders, Rob? I mean, that's just ridiculous, Rob. I'd definitely pick Jedward. Long time no speak, says Goldio. I'm very concerned about Sesko. I can't understand why we're not going all out for Osman. Money. We can't afford it. To match Galatasaray's wages because of the Turkish tax system, we'd have to pay him 425 grand a week. That's simply it. I will go in on United when I think that they're messing about, but you can't pay a player 425 grand a week. I'd have given him 300 grand a week. I wouldn't give him 425, and a lot of you wouldn't have given him 300 grand a week. Xerxes Mbermo Cunha will be interesting too, says Ronan. I mean, I find that irrelevant in a way, Ronan. I really do. I think there's a lot of people talking about Xerxes and Cunha and Mbermo, but we're trying to buy a striker. It's not speculation. We're trying to buy a striker. So let's see who the striker's going to be, because I don't want Xerxes to be the striker, if I'm being honest. I want a top class striker. If Xerxes starts the season as our striker, great. If Xerxes plays as a 10, great. If this new striker gets injured and Xerxes plays as a striker, great. But we're being linked to a striker. Let's buy the best striker we can bloody get. Because I tell you what, if we sign Nicholas Jackson, I want Xerxes up front. Flick, I put Harry Maguire up front, to be fair. Flick is a renowned disciplinarian with a high-intensity style of play. Rashford will have to knuckle down. Good luck to him. He will do. He will do, Emily. Look, I ain't worried about Rashford. I think he's going to do really well. The question will be, why couldn't he do well at Man United? And the situation at Man United had quite honestly become toxic from both sides. And a change is as good. What do they say about a change? He needed a new challenge. He'll go to Barcelona. He won't know anybody. He won't have the media on side. He won't be able to, get what he wants from the club. He won't be the superstar. So he'll have to work. And when Rashford works, he tends to do quite well. I think he's going to have a really good season. He's got a World Cup at the end of it. I think he's going to be in the right frame of mind. I think he's going to do really well. But if he'd stayed if I hear anybody go, this is what could have... They will do. If he has a good season at Barcelona, people will go, this is what we're missing. And that's just thick. That's completely ignoring what's just been said there. It's a new challenge in a new environment where he's got to prove himself, and it's a completely different environment. Whatever he does at Barcelona, he was never going to do at Man United, because all the toxicity, all the brand, all the media, all the fan base would still have been the same. And would he have put the effort in? So it's a new challenge, and I wish him all the best with it. But there's no point comparing it to Man United. That chapter was over. Ash Weir says, my view is that we should be 3-4-1-2. Bruno as the 1, Cunha and Burmo as the floating 2. Kaz, yeah, but that's not going to happen, Ash. I know that's blunt, but that's not going to happen. He's not going to change the system, and you're not the manager, and I'm not the manager. Somebody said to me the other day, actually, Ash, what system would you play if you were in charge? And I completely get what you're saying, because if I was in charge of Man United, I'd play a 4-3-3, because that's what I play, whether I'm playing Football Manager, whether I'm playing FIFA for many years, Pro Evo in 2006, coaching a team. 4-3-3 is what I do. I've always played 4-3-3 and always will play 4-3-3. And if I was manager of Man United, I'd play 4-3-3. So if you want to play 3-4-1-2, that's great. But he won't do it. He won't do it. We went into it eyes open. At times, I find it strange that Man United don't play a 4-3-3. But I got on board with it, and I'm sticking with it. It is a little bit weird. I think people like Paul Scholes struggle with it because, he's probably seen 4-3-3 all his life, or 4-4-2. But we're not changing the formation until he gets sacked, and I don't want him to get sacked. Rashford can finally not be the biggest brand. It's a weight off his shoulders, and if we get a striker, this is a 7 out of 10 minimum transfer window, says Ndibwa. And I think, just going back to the Rashford stuff there, everyone's talking about what Rashford's going to do at Barcelona, and that's great. But no one's talking about us. Like, you get people like Paul Pogba going, "Well, Man United are stupid for letting him go." Rashford was contributing that as well and wanted to go. What about Manchester United? I mean, I wish Rashford well at Barcelona. It doesn't impact on us at all. We're not Spanish and we don't play in the Champions League. So there's no impact. Rashford can't touch us for a year in a competitive way because we don't play in any league or top competition that Barcelona are in. So if he tears it up, great. But what about us? Like, we've been talking about changing player power out of United for years. We've been talking about changing the dressing room for years. With Rashford gone and Sancho going and Garnacho going, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there is anyone in that dressing room that Amorim's got a problem with. I think he wants to move some of them on for footballing reasons, but I don't think there is anybody in that dressing room that he's got a problem with. That must be the first time in a decade. Mourinho had people in the dressing room he didn't like, and he had to use them. Ten Hag did. Ollie did. So, what about Man United's positive stance? I never hear the media talking about this, and I never hear anyone talking about this. It's great for Rashford. It's a new challenge, and I think he'll do well. But what about Man United? This could be the first time in a decade where we've actually got a dressing room that is coherent and behind the manager. And nobody wants to talk about it. And where are all the leaks gone? We're not getting team news leaks. We're not getting leaks from the dressing room anymore. They're gone. Now, they might come back. Old habits die hard. But I think this is a real opportunity for Manchester United as much as it is for Rashford and Sancho and Garnacho. It's a real opportunity. And hopefully it'll be a good one. Ryan says, ignore CFC ballers. Nico is sensational. Buy him. No one wants him, mate. Go and try Arsenal. How did Rashford go from academy product and combating school hunger to where he is now? Hope you can turn it around on and off the pitch. Second chances, Jesse. Humorers, you get one more player position. Go. I think I'm going to go with the goalkeeper tonight, Jimmy. Imagine if we get Moani and Martinez, it would be World Cup final miss reunion. They could just do it in training every day. Jose. Jackson is decent. He's bad for Chelsea levels, but now how you have the audacity to call him bad sitting in 17th. He's good if you want to finish top 10. Humble yourself. No, we don't want him, CFC ballers, just like you. Thank you very much. What twat came out that you can't talk about it, says Alia. No, we didn't say that. If we don't buy a midfielder, should try Martinez as CDM, says it's CJR. If pundits roll out news on Jackson, then no one panics. But if you say Gyokeres is coming, then everyone loses their mind. I love a spin story, says Slow Sports News. Graham Bailey says Garnacho open to Villa. With all due respect, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Okay, right, I'm going to end the show there. Great show tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you on the next one. After show. Okay, in trouble. Yeah, I'm in trouble. Last night in the after show, I sort of did a bit of a Q&A because I didn't really have anything to talk about, and somebody asked me about the Coldplay thing, and I was ad-libbing, and I ended up talking about a woman being ridden by a pony. Not by a pony. God, no. God, not that. Ridden like a pony and erectile dysfunction. Now, somebody's clipped that because it's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, and somebody sent the clip to Mrs. Goldbridge. And she's had a word with me this afternoon. She says, what are you doing talking about that on football? I said, it's the after show. It's just a few minutes. And she said, well, there'll be an after show later. And I went, oh, has it got you in the mood? Well, it's not. She's not happy. So I've got to be very wary that some people might be clipping this stuff up. I think I got away with it. But, you know, I've got to be very careful about what I talk about. At the end of the day, affairs are bad. And that's what I said. And I think she's happy about that. But, yeah, you got to be careful. I need to go and check the green team after this as well. But look, Impulse. That's what I was going to talk to you about tonight. Impulse. I'm impulsive. I'm sure some of you are impulsive. And it got me thinking of impulsive things I've done that have caused me issues. And that, you know, that can be like, I remember being on a night out and I'd had about 5 pints when I was about 21 and I was feeling a bit tipsy. And I thought, that's enough. And then somebody gave me one of those Smirnoff Ice things, and I'd never really had one before. And I had it, and it tasted like lemonade. So I was like, oh, I'll have 6. Oh, my God. I've never been so ill Because basically I had 5 pints of lager and then 6 bottles of Smirnoff Ice, and there is a lot of alcohol in that Smirnoff Ice, so I was absolutely wasted. I ended up throwing up on a grave, which I probably wish I hadn't said that as well, because now that's going to get me in trouble, but at least I'm honest. Basically what happened is, it was somebody's party, I wanted to go home, I was given a bottle of Smirnoff Ice, I liked it, the music was good, it was like drinking lemonade, always drink responsibly, it was my first opportunity to learn that. I was absolutely drunk. I went into a graveyard with somebody, they were female, and I never would have done it after 5 pints. And thankfully, although the downside was throwing up on a grave, it saved me from a big mistake, because there's beer goggles and there's that level. I mean, I said to my mates the next day, why did you let me do that? I'd have been having injections after that, going there. But yeah, and honestly, I don't regret it. I'm glad I threw up on that grave, because what would have happened, yeah, this doesn't worth talking about. Anyway, I did go back to the grave, not the next day, I was very, very ill, hungover, but I did go back to the grave the day after that, because I felt bad, because I am quite conscious, and I wanted to clean it up. Thankfully, the grave was a bloke who was 82 when he died, and the gravestone was, he died in 1926. So he'd been dead for nearly 100 years anyway, and nobody was going to the grave anymore. So yeah, impulse can be a bad thing, but I'm quite impulsive anyway. I mean, I don't know, I get really angry about this stuff. I was on about it the other day, when you get stuck behind somebody who's slow. You know, when it's better now with self-checkout, because you queue, you wait, you go, unless you get someone in front of you who's never used it before. But you know, like the old airports are absolutely brilliant for this. You know, when I got to New York, I've never told anyone I went to New York, but I did go to New York. And you know, when you get there and there's queues for like passport checks, or you know, this, that, and the other. I'm always crap at picking the wrong queue. Always. Even though it looks like it's moving quick, I'll get in it, and the longer queue will be quicker than mine. Really, really bad at that. But I think the worst impulsive decision I ever made was Christmas. And we normally buy each other not one big present, but like lots of smaller presents. And look, I'll be honest, like, we've all done it. Well, some people might not have done it, but I bought something a little bit risque for Mrs. Goldbridge, and it was, let's just call it lingerie, but it definitely wasn't something you would want everybody to see get opened. Anyway, what I do is I wrap the presents up, and she does the same. And you don't, we haven't done this for years, you don't write to, from, and all that crap, because you'd be there all Christmas Eve. So I just get certain wrapping paper and wrap all her presents up in the same wrapping paper. Simples. So when it comes to opening the presents, I normally put them in the pile. She puts them in the pile. That's absolutely fine. This particular Christmas, we had her mother round. And it got to opening the presents time. And I was fully aware that one of these presents was risque, but I didn't know which, because I'd actually bought quite a few things that were soft as well. So it wasn't a vibrator. I'm going to call it lingerie, because if I told you it was a nurse's outfit, you'd think I was kinky. And it wasn't a nurse's outfit, but I'm going to say it was a lingerie. But it was soft anyway. And I just didn't know which was which. And if the thing is, I was like, well, I just won't take it down. But then I was like, there's 10 presents, and it could be 6 of them. So I was like, well, I've got no idea what to do here now. If I go downstairs and say, I can't bring your presents down, everyone's going to say why. And then I'm going to end up saying it anyway. So I just thought, you know what, life's for living, lucky dip. And I just took 9 down and left 1 back. And ultimately, it didn't even build any suspense. You know, I actually thought this game was going to be quite, you know, exciting in a scary way, because I thought She'll open 1, it's not it. She'll open 2, it's not it. She'll open 3, it's not it. So when they said who's going first, I was just like, yeah, go on. First present, she opens it up. You know, no one's even opened up their talc or their, you know, Quality Street or anything like that. First present, she opens it up. And I just, yeah. What do you do? What do you do? The funny thing was, the present upstairs was a scarf. What do you do? It's like that. It's like that film. I don't know whether you've ever seen it. I think it's quite crap, but I actually quite like it. It's called I'll Give It a Year, and it's got Stephen Merchant in it. And I would watch it. I find it quite funny. But there's a bit in it where they basically get married, and everyone says they'll give it a year. You'll only be married a year, and they go on their honeymoon, and she's quite posh, and he's just like us. Well, you know, like normal working class, you know, whatever. Like, not just you know, normal. And they're quite posh, and they live in a really nice house, and they've got, you know, posh parents, and they speak proper and all that. And they go round, and I don't know how it happens, but they've got one of those like picture frames that show pictures, and she puts the memory card in, and it starts showing like lovely pictures of like the Maldives, and then the next thing, it's one of her getting done behind by him, and then it's one of it. Yeah, it's good. Best post credit show. It's good. It's well. I would recommend that film. It's good. It's well worth a watch. Well worth a watch. Time for the after show, says Andre Gamers. I'm listening to a lot of Blur and Pulp. Wonder what your thoughts on both. I really do like Blur. I mean, I prefer Oasis, but I do like Blur, and Pulp are okay as well. The game's back, says Jordan. Mojo's gifted 10 memberships. Thank you very much. Lee Berman's gifted a membership too. I know Bruno has a big fan base here, but as a neutral, I always thought he was never United class, says Rub. Ooh. And Daz says, be honest, we're on a plan D, E, and F for a striker, says Daz. Thank you very much for that. And Rashford's lucky to be playing alongside Yamal. He'll get all the assists, says GGMU. Will the youth team switch to Amorim system this summer, says Gary. Boring, but no, they're not going to. And Barry says, I'm surprised Osman wouldn't drop his wages. There we go. Okay, thanks everyone, as always. Will you consider an after show? No, I do enjoy them though. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Well, we might not be back at 10 o'clock tomorrow, because at some point Brian Mbumo is going to be official. I mean, that could be 9 o'clock. It won't be tonight, but I think it will be at some point tomorrow. Have a great day, evening, or whatever you're doing. I think we've hit 323,000, but please do subscribe if you haven't already. Champers, and I'll speak to you all in a bit. Great. Take care. Thanks for watching.